What's up, family? It's your man Mark Black. Do you remember those old vampire movies where the wise vampire hunter would tell one of the people being stalked that a vampire can't come into your house unless you invite him in? Well, this is a fine metaphor to begin explaining why we have to resist the whiteists with every tool in our arsenal. In this video, I will discuss some key reasons why resistance against whiteism is not only necessary to gain our liberation, but why we will always need to do so if we are going to remain free. We will use the metaphor of the vampire to provide the needed visual reinforcement for this lesson. Let's examine for a moment what a vampire is. Of course, I don't believe that they exist in reality, but we'll look at the fictional depictions of what they are. For those of you who either haven't ever seen a horror film or have been living under a rock, a vampire is a nocturnal human-like creature that sustains its waking existence by drinking the blood of living creatures. According to vampire lore, it has many tricks and abilities, with all of them focused on one end goal, the consumption of blood. In most imaginations of the vampire, they can change forms, appear very seductive to humans, and hypnotize the weak-minded into allowing them to feed upon them. A vampire is driven by its thirst to feed, and without blood, most preferably that of humans, becomes weakened and ultimately falls into a torpor which can deepen into an eternal sleep. They can be killed by various means that I will not go into, but short of these means, they will never die. I'm certain that the quick-witted among you have already started to see some clear parallels between these mythical creatures and the Pale People, but I'm going to introduce a bit of a twist. I'm going to ask a question that most people don't really ask when it comes to vampires, or for that matter, the Pale People. Why do vampires need to feed on blood? After all, they cannot die by the majority of conventional means. They can't get sick, old, get into car accidents, or much of anything else that would kill humans. So why feed? The answer, when you consider it, is pretty simple. Because it has to. A vampire feeds because otherwise it is vulnerable and essentially defenseless against even the weakest humans. Now that we've fleshed out, no pun intended, our vampire, let's see how it is analogous to the Pale People. First of all, they feed on us very similarly to vampires. Sure, they don't literally drink our blood, at least not all of them, but they feed on our resources, labor, efforts, and lives. They have many tricks that they use to ensure our compliance and submission so that they can feed on us, and of course, the more quiet we are, the better as far as they are concerned. They come at us in different forms. They are sometimes conservative, sometimes liberal. They are sometimes meek, and other times hyper-violent. They offer us visions of inclusion, success, and validation. This can induce a hypnosis that even some of the strong-minded among us find difficult to resist falling into and thus being preyed upon. They are driven to feed upon and kill us by very deep urges that they will not even enumerate, let alone contemplate. Most importantly, as long as they are pale, they will never not practice whiteism. They do it because they must. That's a pretty damn crazy statement, Brother Black, I can hear many of you saying right now. Well, as usual, I will bring the evidence and let you decide for yourselves. First, we will examine the evidence from a biological point of view. Most everyone with a modicum of knowledge about modern genetics, and just people with working eyes generally, will understand that while black people have the capability to generate any human phenotype, the Pale People can only generate more pale people. I'll give you a quick visual to support this claim. Let's say that you have a village of pale people. They're peaceable enough, so one day a black man appears on the road. Seeing as how they don't receive many visitors, they roll out the red carpet, mi casa es su casa, and all of that. They invite him to stay as a guest as long as he likes, which he does. Now, the two things that any human being that stays in any area for any lengthy period of time will do is eat and have sex. Not every woman in the village will necessarily find the black man attractive, but some will, and he will be sexually attracted to some of them. Approximately 8 to 9 months after some of these sexual encounters, some of these women will have children. These children, however, will not be the same as the pale children they usually have, as they will possess a larger degree of the melanin than the children of pale fathers. It doesn't take a geneticist to see that over time, This single black man can alter the entire village into a group of mostly non-pale people. Our sister Queen Kim of the True Royal Family channel here on YouTube describes this as the crystal black balls of the black man. One black man can reduce pale numbers to a great extent just by being alive and having sex. On the level of a small village, this may not be a major issue. When you understand this truth on a global scale, this has definite consequences on pale people overall. One of the major reasons why, and this was made clear by our esteemed ascendant ancestor, Queen Mother Frances Cress Welsing, there is a subconscious fear of genetic annihilation in the psyches of pale people. They may be brutish, but they aren't stupid. After traveling all over the earth and seeing that melanization is the dominant trait among all human phenotypes, they would clearly understand that to continue on in any large numbers, they'd have to work out a system that keeps pale people pale. This, along with the greed for the resources that they lacked in Europe, was all the impetus needed to construct whiteism everywhere that they predominate. This is why whiteism, as we know it, is a fairly recent event in European history. The pale people soon realized that all they were doing was stealing from the real dominant society. We also need to examine this from a sociological and psychological point of view. At this point in history, there is no putting the genie back into the bottle. Whiteism is a reality and will be for the foreseeable future. Sociologically, our demanding and pleading that the pale people stop practicing whiteism is the same as asking a vampire not to feed on blood. To them, we are asking that they allow themselves to become the numerical minority they would naturally become over time. Of course, since the recessive traits that create paleness resides in those humans with the most genetic diversity, i.e. black people, pale people would never disappear from the earth completely. However, this fear they harbor is a visceral, irrational, and mostly subconscious one psychologically. If you came out and asked most pale people if they feared there being vastly less of them over time, most would tell you no. Their actions say otherwise. If whiteism were to disappear tomorrow with the current connected state of human affairs, within less generations than we think, their recessive traits would be reabsorbed into the total human gene pool to express themselves randomly, instead of the artificial selection through inbreeding that they've practiced for a very long time. What does all of this mean for us? Well, the answer is simple. If you have a scorpion in your presence, do you ask it to not be a scorpion? Do you pray to Allah that the scorpion doesn't kill you? Do you protest and try to appeal to the scorpion? No. You defend against its sting with every tool at your disposal, and if no other option exists, you destroy it. Pale people as a collective will practice whiteism as long as they have the capability to do so. This will never fail to occur anywhere they are able, at least anytime within the future we can foresee. As long as we leave a single opening for them, we will invite them to continue the practice of whiteism. We will continue to suffer from the systems created by whiteism only to the extent that we do not dismantle them and forbid by every means available to us their reconstruction. Until such time as it becomes evident that whiteism ceases to be practiced by the pale collective, we have to stop every single movement toward its practice, not once, but each time it presents itself. Resistance and defense against whiteism isn't an option for us, it's a necessity, unless we enjoy putting our lives at risk whenever enough of them aggregate, become consciously fearful of us, and are close enough to sting. This is your man Mark Black. Share this video, like, and subscribe for more. Until next time, love, peace, prosperity, and real power to my people.